The slippery slope is the idea that if one thing happens, inevitably a whole bunch of other things will happen as well. So if the president wants to give a speech to school children, then that means the president is indoctrinating school children with his political ideology, which means our schools are political indoctrination centers. And since indoctrination breeds zealots, and zealots will do anything for the cause about which they are zealous, then public schools are becoming camps to breed child soldiers for Obamaism, which means Obama is doing what Hitler did. So presidential speech to school kids equals Fourth Reich. Slippery slope. A leads to B, B leads to C, eventually A leads to Z, and you not washing your hands before dinner means you're on death row. You hear this kind of argument all the time in American politics. It's a be afraid argument. Explaining to a patient their option to fill out a living will, that should be a reimbursable expense for doctors under Medicare. That's death panels, pulling the plug on grandma. Don't do thing A now because hypothetically that could lead to thing Z down the road. Sometimes, though, it's not hypothetical. Sometimes you don't need to imagine the hyperbolically awful thing that might happen someday as a consequence of some smaller step you take now. Sometimes you can just watch life careen down the slippery slope right in front of your eyes. In the late 70s, a former second runner-up Miss America and sort of popular singer named Anita Bryant became the nation's celebrity spokesperson against gay rights in America. She led a campaign for Dade County, Florida, to repeal a county non-discrimination policy. Anita Bryant argued that the county must be allowed to fire people for being gay because gay people are predators who recruit school children into homosexuality.
Bryant drew attention with statements like, quote, gays can't reproduce, they have to recruit. End of quote.
The war goes on to save our children because the seed of sexual sickness that germinated in Dade County has already been transplanted by misguided liberals in the U.S. Congress.
This is one of the foundational myths of anti-gay activism. Gay people are out to get kids. That's the gay agenda, to recruit kids to be gay, because that's how gay people get that way. They're lured into it by recruiters who sexually abuse them as kids and thereby turn them gay. So opposing gay people's rights is a means of protecting the children from the gays. I say this is a myth because the people whose job it is to know these things say it's a myth. They've proved it. The American Psychological Association says homosexual men are not more likely to sexually abuse children than heterosexual men are. Quote, no specific psychosocial or family dynamic cause for homosexuality has been identified, including histories of childhood sexual abuse. That, of course, does not stop anti-gay activists from making that assertion, that gay people are out to recruit kids, making that assertion over and over again. Jerry Falwell telling supporters of his old-time gospel hour by direct mail in 1981, quote, please remember, homosexuals do not reproduce, they recruit, and many of them are after my children and your children. Senator Jesse Helms of North Carolina pushing for years for anti-gay restrictions in federal education law because the homosexuals are out to recruit in the schools. In 1995, Congressman Pete Hoekstra's committee convening hearings on parents, schools, and values. Hearings that in part investigated, yes, homosexual recruitment in the schools. The proponents of Proposition 8 in California, the proposition to roll back gay rights in that state, making their case just last year.
They can't reproduce.
Yeah, come on now.
So they got to recruit. And they're trying to recruit our kids. They're trying to promote that lifestyle to our kids, and I say no.
Here's how you fall down the slippery slope. You make this argument, Anita Bryant, Jesse Helms, random anti-gay orator guy. You make this argument that you oppose gay people's civil rights because gay people are out to get kids. Never mind the facts. You like making the case. We're out to save the children from the homosexuals who prey on them. What's the next logical step? If gay people are out to get the kids, how are you going to protect the kids? Keep gays away from the kids. Keep gays from being declared normal. Protect people's rights to fire people for being gay if they don't want to work with them. Protect people's right to kick somebody out of their housing for being gay if you don't want to live near them. Protect the children. Counteract the recruitment. Show that homosexuality is wrong. Make homosexuality illegal. Make homosexuality have severe punishments. Make it have really severe punishments. Make being gay punishable by death. It is not a logical fallacy, the slippery slope, if it really happens. If the arguments made by anti-gay activists ultimately redound to serious legal proposals to kill people for being gay. In October 2008, Uganda held its National Prayer Breakfast. The National Prayer Breakfast is an event started by the family, mostly known as C Street here in the U.S., a powerful secretive religious organization in the U.S. with ties to many members of Congress. One of the founders of Uganda's National Prayer Breakfast, a member of the family, floated the idea at an event associated with that breakfast that Uganda should have a kill the gays law, that homosexuality should be punishable by life in prison, or in the case of aggravated homosexuality, it should be punishable by death. A few months later, in March of last year, the guy from the family who drafted the bill hosted a delegation of anti-gay activists from the United States, preaching, surprise, that gay people are a threat to children. They're out to recruit in the schools. And they also said nobody is stuck being gay if they don't want to be. It's a learned behavior. It can be cured. A few weeks after their visit, the Kill the Gays bill was introduced. Meanwhile, the anti-gay populist press in that country started campaigning. This publication published a list of allegedly gay Ugandans, along with, in many cases, their addresses and their photos. You can see a small yellow banner underneath the S in Uganda's. It says, "Hang them." Because of the American connections to this, the fact that the author's a member of the family, which is tied to a lot of American politicians through C Street and elsewhere. Because the resultant publicity earned criticism for the Kill the Gays bill from our president, Secretary of State, lots of the politicians associated with C Street. It is fairly widely believed, because of that coverage, that the Kill the Gays thing is over. It's not. Its author expects it to be voted on in a matter of weeks, and its author is here in the United States, promoting Anita Bryant's old line that he's only doing this to save the children. The author of Uganda's Kill the Gays bill joins me at the bottom of the slippery slope next.